Go for it, go for it. I'm just saying I'm not finished yet. Search for it, swing for it. Discover the me that lives in yes. Stand for it, stretch for it. It's my time, imagine my best. Run for it, reach for it. Uncover the me that lives in yes. I know, yes I know. There'll be miracles wherever I go. It's not work, it's play. I can make magic today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Senior Nation. I'm your host, Phyllis Ayman, and you are listening to the Source TV Radio Network, WTSN, Washington, D.C. We are indeed a senior nation with 100 plus million adults over the age of 50. And we are here to bring you up-to-date information about successful aging, healthful longevity, and becoming what I call a well-ager. To dignity, respect, quality of life, and quality of care for our parents and grandparents and our loved ones. We at Senior Nation will be your trusted voice for informed choices, meaningful conversations, and a vibrant life at every age. Though the Source TV Radio Network is known for its dedication to bringing the highest level of jazz content to the viewing and listening audience, the owners of the network are also dedicated to bringing this important information to this fast-growing demographic, and I'm always grateful for the opportunity. And now for tonight's guest. Dr. Gary Altheim, known as Dr. Gary, is a New York State licensed clinical psychologist who has extensive experience working therapeutically with young adults, seniors, and families. In addition to children who have emotional challenges. He is the founder and executive director of Growth and Development Services, GDS, a nonprofit organization that serves elders and youth. He also has extensive experience working with seniors and elders with dementia. After discovering the healing power of music in caregiving for his mom with Alzheimer's disease, he created an intergenerational music program called Youth Engaging Seniors to bring life and connection to elders living with dementia and caregivers dealing with the pain of caring for a loved one who oftentimes is suffering from the Alzheimer's disease and the symptoms associated with dementia. In 2018, Dr. Gary was a finalist for Child Mind Institute's annual Changemaker Awards and was featured in Parents Magazine for his work addressing the burdens of family instability, violence, mental health, and learning disabilities. Through music, art, and wellness activities, yes, Youth Engaging Seniors trains youth, volunteers, and family members to engage with seniors in ways that spark joy, reduce isolation, and develop empathy, communication, and leadership skills. So I'm so thrilled to have Dr. Gary here with me this evening. Hey, hello. Dr. Gary.
Hello. Thank you for that great introduction, and thank you for having me. I admire your work, and I think you're an incredible advocate. So thank you for all that you do.
Thanks a lot. I mean, I think it was really the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to say, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to say more about what you do, so people can hear it directly from the head honcho at who's really what's the word I want to say? Who's really not only been inspired, but really has been, I'll say, that the innovative force behind all of these programs.
Thank you for that. It definitely takes a village, and you've been part of the village at GDS, so I always appreciate your help personally, the way you helped me and my mom, and also the way you help GDS. So Growth and Development Service is a nonprofit that we founded 29 years ago. At first, it was still is for inner city youth, under-resourced youth who need opportunities to work, learn, and grow. The program first was a camp, and then we had a year-long Excel program, which includes mental health counseling, holistic approach, wellness, meditation, and we believe in a holistic approach. And we work with youth that have a lot of challenges. They live in primarily Northern Manhattan, Washington Heights, Harlem, the Bronx, and we've been doing this work for a long time, based out of Washington Heights. And it was around 2018 when actually Michael Rosato Bennett, the amazing movie producer from Alive Inside, and he helped to create the Youth Engaging Seniors program. I was the program person. He's an amazing film producer, as well as he had his still has his foundation, the Alive Inside Foundation. Approached me and said, "Dr. Gary, I heard you're great at working with youth, and I wonder, you think we can do this intergenerational music program that we've done across the country with the youth from the under-resourced communities from Washington Heights?" I said, "Yeah, of course we can."
Right.
And at first it was actually called Excel Alive Inside, and then we changed it to be Youth Engaging Seniors. Michael went his way. He gave the endorsement 100% for Youth Engaging Seniors, and it was a magical program. So that's when we combined the work with the youth and then with the seniors. At the same time, my mom has been living with dementia since 2014. First was mild cognitive impairment. One day she drove off and didn't know how to come home, and I've been really the coordinating all of that care, as well as being the person dealing with it, but with my family, my dad and my siblings. And it's been a long journey. She's still at home, and she's still alive. And I saw the power of Alive Inside. So
Right.
I saw the power of music, which was
Right.
not a coincidence that I just said that, because I was thinking about the healing power of music, as you know, Phyllis, and
Right.
the way that right now, my mom, she can't walk. She can't really talk in clear sentences, but I made a promise a while ago. I live about an hour and a half from her. And every 2 weeks I go and I sit with her, and she knows what's going on, and she's
Yes.
an incredible human being. And I wish more people would visit her, but I really think that the power of music helps her so much. And I saw it in her. And then we created this program, Youth Engaging Seniors, which I think we're going to show you the video, which really tells the story better than me.
We'll show the video a little later on. So actually, I had Dan Cohen on the show to talk about music and memory, which is how this all started. And I think he worked with
Yes.
Yes, right. That too.
And that was Right to Music, I believe,
right.
is the name
and
of
that
his
was
new.
Right to Music, to create the documentary. So I'm going to ask you a question. I hope you don't mind. We didn't talk about this beforehand. So because you have a keen understanding of this, also because you're a PhD, you're Dr. Gary. I mean, no, seriously, it's not just a euphemism, but for people who have knowledge, or because I've had my own experience with this, actually, with my daughter when she was helping with my ex-husband. People aren't always receptive when you come along with a strategy or a program or a suggestion. There are all kinds of family dynamics, and sometimes people think it's just a certain way and they can't take in other kinds of information about it. Have you experienced any of those challenges with your family?
Yes. I think that initially that the shock and the just trying to cope with the diagnosis is so traumatizing. Like I feel like no one should even have to deal with that, because just coping with the practical part of it is so hard. And because there's such a stigma, I feel, to as you were getting older, as I know you talk about in your amazing TED Talk, but also just really about dementia. Like, the people don't want to talk about it, and I think it forces a normal reaction of just sort of like resistance and not being able to cope with it. It's like it's traumatizing. So yeah, my siblings and I, we have evolved. We've gotten learn, but it's there is a lot of dynamics going on, and people. It's not malicious, but it's most important thing is communication, especially
Right.
when you're going through that acting out phase. And how do you respond? And there really should be a course on this, in schools, and just like there should be a mental health awareness course in schools. Like our seniors are so important, and respecting them and treating them the way that they deserve to be treated, as you advocate for, is so important. Communication, working together is very difficult when you're dealing with this long
Yeah.
goodbye. It's a very difficult. It's very difficult.
And now, I mean, obviously your family has seen, I think sometimes there's fear when people hear the diagnosis, and then they only see the person as they are. They've heard about what happens to people, and maybe they've known somebody else, but they don't see it happening to that person. And, I always, if I coach someone, I say, what you see now is not where it's going to be. So with the decisions you make now, they may not apply down the road when the person really needs much more care, is much more dependent. And it becomes a much more challenging, draining, and time-consuming situation.
Yeah, the disease is challenging enough. So I remember you were trying to help me, like everyone, and this is based on insurance and access, which in privileged communities or communities where people can pay for this, is like everyone should automatically have a case manager from the moment that diagnosis happened, as well as family therapy. And just to say therapy with the stigma is so difficult, but even just talking about how to handle it, and the stage of denial is so great in the beginning. Like taking away the keys to my mother's. I mean, there's so much pushback that everyone is getting pulled in different directions. I recommend a case manager, an elder case. Which to just deal with the details, because
Right.
medications, the medications aren't stable, and the doctors aren't talking to each other, which is all the reason you need to talk to each other,
Correct.
which is a horrible system that doesn't help a family to coping with this. And that's why I feel like whatever tools we have, like music, and with advocates that are helping to educate others. And so I think it's great you're doing the show, and I think it's great that we're raising awareness. As you say, it's not about getting older; it's about evolving. My mom is living with dementia. She's
Correct.
still a human. She's it's those little words that make a difference. People are scared, I think.
Correct.
And fear guides, puts the blinders on, and then you got the sibling dynamics. It's very important to have a professional for the mental, for the psychological part, and a case manager. And again, this is an ideal world, and that's not what,
Right.
better than me, the insurance and people having access to that. I don't think realistically there's no way my mother would still be alive right now if it wasn't for my dad utilizing his resources to get live-in aides, two at a time, and to still sleeps next to my dad. Deserves so much credit. He sleeps next to her. We have and
Good for him.
everyone's different. Maybe for someone else it might be. I don't think there's one rule for anyone, but
Correct.
I think it's amazing that my mom is still thriving the way that she is.
Well, and my feeling is that could be one of the reasons that she is, because as the famous quote by Maya Angelou, people may not hear or remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. And, people have a tendency to think that a person in advanced stage of Alzheimer's or dementia has no understanding of what's going on. But the reality is they do. They feel, and they know when somebody's caring, when they're loving, if they're harsh, if they're yelling, if they handle them roughly, if they, have gentle touches. So the fact that, your father is providing that for her on the positive side is helping her continue to live with dementia.
Yeah, he's incredible. He is so resilient, and he deals with everything, and it's incredible.
Yeah, that's really terrific. So, before we go further, I wanted to bring up, we have a great graphic of GDS, so that people could see really. I really think it's a great graphic, and growth and development services, and that's your logo.
Yeah, that's our mantra: reach your potential. As you see our t-shirt, reach your potential and empower others to unleash theirs. So that's when I meet people, I'm sure you have like 10 of these in your drawer, Phyllis. I give out these bracelets, and there's thousands of people that have these bracelets, but it's all about helping each other reach our potential individually and as a community, and that's what we do with the seniors. To see the youth work with the seniors is incredible, and to see what they learn from the seniors, and to see what the seniors learn from them. I think the future is about intergenerational communities, and it exists other places, but I think that that's really something that's what Michael Rosato Bennett wanted to build, and I know that
there are those communities being built. I mean, I haven't spoken to him in a very long time, but Dr. Bill Thomas, who is building these Kalimos communities where people are together, all ages, all levels of ability. I working on a film project. Originally, it was based on two of his novels. I since rewrote the story, but I have a wonderful song that was written from a poem that I wrote about all of that people living together, caring for each other. So Carlton says, do you find that youth who wish to interact with seniors already are more empathetic than many of their generation? How do you account for an empathy gene? Oh, great question.
Yeah. So the best way to help someone that is struggling is to have them help someone else. If you can give the person the proper tools. So we first want to make sure that the youth have the tools they need before they walk into the room with the seniors. They make these amazing playlists of music, which you'll see in the video. But yes, the youth become, that is the empathic gene. It's learned. It's by first training the youth. We have something where we actually give them a certificate. It's called the Intergenerational Wellness Facilitator. And what they do is they learn how to work with the seniors, whether they have dementia or whether they're lonely in senior centers that are not getting the care that they need. And they learn how to talk to them and how to engage them. And they learn how to use the musical playlist and the headsets. And then they have a conversation and they share stories. And that is the empathy gene to me, is that when they see the stories and some of the things that the seniors have been through and the elders, that it helps the youth to get a perspective. And one of the things that helps the youth the most is to help someone else.
Right.
And it is research on that. And it's a great question. And I hope that gives you my perspective on it.
So, and I had something else to add to that. I'll just add it that, Sonia Lyubomirsky, I always mispronounce her last name. So she wrote a book about happiness, right? And one of the things she says about happiness and what creates your own happiness is doing something for somebody else. Mm-hmm. So it's just what you say. So Lenny says, have you seen evidence of youth involved in intergenerational mentoring programs that are less likely to engage in risky behaviors such as illegal drug or excessive alcohol use and often show improved academic performance? Great question.
Yeah, I think that would be a great PhD for Mel to take up in his research. But I don't want to cite a research study, but this is we know from Gabor Mate, Healing in a Toxic Culture, and the research on the effects of the mind and body and all of the stress that youth that live in under-resourced communities, they don't have the same sense of feeling of belonging. They don't have community centers. They don't have a seat. They don't have places that they can go. So part of the Youth Engaging Seniors program and the whole agency of GDS, Growth and Development Services, is really creating that sense of connection, which Youth Engaging Seniors is part of. And yes, I could send you back research. We know that when youth feel a sense of connection, one caring adult, or feeling a sense of purpose, they feel a sense of purpose. They look forward every week to seeing the seniors. And again, you'll hear from them yourselves when we show this video.
So, I just thought of something as you're saying that. and I don't know if you have been doing this a number of years, so I don't know if you have information on this as yet, but do you find that, or have you found that some of these youth that have been involved in these programs go on to work in the space where they would be working with older people, whether it's in a senior center, in a long-term care environment, skilled nursing, something like that?
Yeah, so we partner also with the Summer Youth Employment Program, and some of them do this as a segue into nursing or working with seniors. Yeah, they're still getting to know. We have some of them are musicians and sing. We had Vanessa; she was singing to them. So especially youth in the arts, to use that alongside this is a gift. And so yeah, they it helps to develop their career. So it's a win-win-win all the way around.
That is, and like you said, and maybe, I'm not saying for all, but a good number of kids in the inner city, it helps them find a sense of purpose, because
Absolutely.
they don't have that, and they don't have the direction. And this gives them something meaningful to do, some impact they're making, not only in their, not only for a particular person, but in their community. By the way, yeah, that's a question I just thought of. So the youth that are involved in this program, does the community know that they are doing this, or does the community acknowledge them in some way, shape, or form? Or do you have something where the community is aware of the youth that participate in this, and they can be, acknowledged in a way that, would probably make them feel valued?
Well, the timing of the program was tough because it started and it got really popular, and we were in a senior center, people living with dementia, and then COVID hit. So when COVID hit, we had a lapse in being able to go into the senior centers, and then we started to bring the program into other senior centers after that, and it's really based on funding. I mean, we don't even GDS would love to replicate the program and do more of it, but most programs or foundations are not supporting these kinds of programs in the way that we need to do it right, which is, it's a very comprehensive, multifaceted, holistic program, training the youth, making sure they all get along, then making sure we're working with the seniors. It's a lot of work, but it's all worth it in the end. But as you know, Phyllis, sometimes the money guides that.
Right.
It's part of what GDS is doing, is trying to, sometimes we have donors that give just to that program, but we really need a lot more funding to expand it.
So Sarah says, I live in Berkeley, California, and we are in the orises of redesigning some of our public libraries and community centers to be anchor tenants in urban development, serving all ages, with flexible spaces that encourage both quiet reading and group activities like workshops or game nights.
That's beautiful.
Oh, I think I should have said the process, right? It was a typo. So yeah, I mean, obviously any space that can be created where there's that kind of intergenerational relationship, and libraries do have tutoring where they bring in older people, tutoring for youth or reading for youth. But your program, is it specifically for? It's not specifically for people with dementia, but it's
yes. So we have two different models. So we also have a bilingual model. So we have Spanish speaking, and we had English speaking, and then we bring them all together. We bring everyone together. We tailor the youth engaging seniors to the center. So there's also individual where they pair off. Then there's also ways that we could do family support. It's really the hub of the program is really this music program where the seniors that either come for the day or depending on the facility, or that then when the families here, they say, oh, there's this guy that comes in with all these teens and they do music. And that gives us a segue then to do some family work, if possible. Like then we do an event on a Saturday, we invite everyone. And so it's really providing that sense of connection for us, which I think music is the universal connector, no matter what language.
I agree. Actually, we have a very nice graphic of the youth and the seniors, in the environment. I hope people can see it, but you could see, them interacting, different ages, different backgrounds. And, I love the, at the bottom, the hands, because that's what it is. It's reaching out,
connection. Yeah. That's before we went there. So we would be in our office, which was in Washington Heights, in the Armory. And then the Riverstone Senior Center was across the street. So the youth would come after school, we would train them. And then when they were ready, we then would go into the senior center every week at this time. And before we went to go see them, I would get them going and say, okay, let's go, because it's not an easy thing to do. And
right.
Some of them were like assigned to this job, and some of them wanted to do that, but they all rose to the occasion. They're incredible. And they should be acknowledged more. And we want to replicate the program, but it's not enough resources.
What are the ages of the kids that are involved?
12 to 21.
Oh, wow.
Teens and young adults, but they're in high school, or they're part of the Summer Youth Employment Program in New York City. So it's a real big collaboration between the Summer Youth Employment Program, the Senior Center, and then GDS, which runs the whole thing. When we were with Michael, we also had a collaboration with other agencies. It's like, collaborations take a lot of work. So,
yeah, they do.
But they're always the best, because the more holistic, the more care we can get. So when we're talking to when the youth are talking to the seniors, and they may notice something that, that someone else didn't, they'll come to me and I'll talk to the worker. It's all about communication. And the family members come and visit, and they see that they're having joy. It livens up the whole entire senior center. They couldn't wait for us to come, which is why I think that's really the having youth come into senior centers is that intergenerational model, I think, is in the community. And senior centers are a great place, because a lot of times the youth in Northern Manhattan and the Bronx, they don't have a place to go. Well, There's a lot of empty rooms in senior centers, so why not go into the senior centers and bring different youth programs as part of a community service project? I mean, these are some of the ideas that we have for replicating the program.
I think that, it's not, it is known about, it's not a new concept, I should say, about children and older adults. People, the experience and the education goes both ways. But I would say, from my experience in long-term care, that there are many environments, I don't like to call them facilities, there are many environments where every once in a while they'll bring in kids to do a concert or do that, but it's not the same as having that, that experience, that connection, that relationship. Just watching some children, sing some Christmas songs is really not it. But, when they do it, and this full well from our conversations about how these environments work, they check a box, okay, they had an intergenerational program, it's like a pet program. Somebody comes through with a dog and they pet the dog for, 5 times, and they say, okay, well, they have a pet program, but that's not really it. Right.
And the aide that's there gets the time off because the other program is coming in, and they think they can sit in the corner on their phone. But yeah, so it's a challenge to go into a lot of the senior centers and get everyone, but it's all on how you do it. It's like you said, the way you make them feel. The music livens them up. And I'm a psychologist, so I work the room and, try to get everyone, involved. And it's really about, they do storytelling. So in between the group music, I'm having the seniors tell a story, talk about when they were in the Navy, and the youth are listening. So then they do individual stories. Music is just the opening. Sometimes some song could make someone sad. Another song could make someone thrilled, right?
Correct.
So it's really about learning the meaning of that song and sharing it with the group to create a sense of community.
Right. So Ken says, I found that seniors can learn about new technologies. True. Cultural trends and fresh perspective from younger generations. Right. Keeping them connected to the world around them. Absolutely. and organize reverse mentoring programs so tech-savvy youth teach seniors how to use smartphones, social media, or navigate online services, empowering seniors and giving youth a sense of purpose. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then on the other end of it, what the youth gets is this perspective and this wisdom from this person who has a wealth of life experience, have lived these years, and can offer information or experience or wisdom or advice, whatever it is, from a perspective that child or whatever age they are doesn't have. And that's very different than putting a question into Google or getting an answer from ChatGPT. It's very, very different when you get that human experience, right?
Right, but I think this person was also talking about that there's a way that the youth could be empowered because they could teach the seniors something that they're good at, and that could be mentoring from both sides. It's both
sides, absolutely. Maybe this is a good time to show that video. I know it's about 4 minutes long, I think. And so people can really get our viewers can really get an understanding of how the program works. So let's tee up the video about youth engaging seniors.
Okay, DJ, ponme un... No sé, salsa no, la salsa me da mucha hambre. Una bachata, ¿verdad? Una bachata.
Cool. Very cool. I love watching that. I love watching that video. I've been in many buildings and they bring in music, and, it's always, people think, I don't know what they think, but before you know it, people start in wheelchairs, start tapping their feet and moving. And then, I love to dance. I'm always dancing, and people respond to that. People love it. And I think what escapes people, especially, senior center people are living in communities, but in a long-term care or skilled nursing environment, they're locked away someplace. People don't even think of them as people anymore. But they're still, a vibrant person who still needs connection and wants love and purpose and joy. And you can see the joy on their face. It's really fantastic.
Beautiful.
So, where do you see it? Because I know funding for these programs is very difficult. Where do you see it? Where do you see it going? I mean, what do you think I know, you started in New York. I know you'd love to see it nationally. How do you see that possibility, or are there places around the country who are doing things similar? Or there connections with people around the country that have contacted you to see how they can develop a program like this?
Yeah, well, Michael Rosado Bennett is the original person that has done this across the country. With he has the model, and we've collaborated, and then we expanded from him and created our own program with him. So I think talking about like a lot of these residential centers and not facilities, environments that have is really the most important place to try to get funding somehow, where we could bring this program, or not just us, any type of music program, needs to be in these places. It needs to be there, but people can't just do it without getting paid, and it's
Right.
so important. So it's
Like I said, a lot of, I've been, countless buildings, and okay, once a week or maybe once a month, they bring in some guitar player or some music, and they think that's it. They check that box, but that's not it, and I know for a fact that it's difficult, that the original music and memory program, that it was difficult to get it going, even though the benefits and that are evidence-based would be so
music and memory.
difficult.
Music and memory with Dan Cohn was that they have manuals, and you could
Right.
buy the headsets, but that's all great. But what really need is, you need a staff and people to learn how to run the program, train the youth, learn how to load the music. There's so many details involved with the program that it really has to be done right. And I think the consistency of a weekly program, to do it correctly, we would do it 6 to 9 weeks in a row, and then we would come back, and it's consistency, because it's all about consistency. What helps the loneliness, what helps people feel a sense of connection. So going in those one-off, it's not really getting to that.
Correct.
The outcomes measures show you that music helps your cognitive function. Music helps your sense of loneliness. Music helps you with just your daily activities. With my mom, when you wake up and when you're trying to get out, everything is, it's just, music is in that part of your brain that helps you to function better. My mom can't speak, but when she hears the music on the TV and we're watching the Frank Sinatra, or she'll tap her foot, or she'll say a couple of words, and
Right.
those moments are moments where she's alive inside, which is what Michael called his movie, which is an award-winning film, Alive Inside. Everyone should watch it if you haven't already. It's an incredible, and he's doing a new movie, Alive Inside 2.
Is he really?
2. I think he's working on the new one.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
I haven't spoke to him in a little while, but it was in the works.
Yeah, I mean,
TOO, I think.
Right. So, it's just what you say, and people do come alive inside. I mean, it was really a perfect title for that documentary. I think his name was Henry in the film, where you put on, he started talking. He started talking, right? And then
that's the clip that made 1 million views, and then
exactly. And then his family could engage with him, and it means so much. And I'm sure even to your dad or whoever's there at the time that she says a few words or sings a few words, that's incredible, because as you and I know, that part of your brain, it's kind of an automatic response.
Right. And if we could teach caregivers and care partners and siblings how to use that music, like if one of my friends called me the other day, they're having trouble with their parents, and I gave her a headset and I showed her how to engage, because people don't know how to talk to someone with dementia. Well, we could play Beatles song, we could, and it just lowers the whole, when you're in that stage of dementia, especially when the person is confused. My mom's in the stage right now where it's more docile, but she's gone through all the stages, and it's a very important tool. I mean, if the research on medicine versus how many medications are out there? Not one is really, 300 or, I don't want to say the wrong number, but there's a lot of medications. But how many music programs are there where we're actually doing that, which could help youth, it could help the seniors, it could help the senior center, but it's not the same kind of like follow the money, kind of like,
right, exactly.
It's not like the pharmaceutical company that are doing it.
Right, exactly. But here's the thing. I came up with an idea for a program in a building many years ago, a very small building, upstate New York. It involved youth. It wasn't music, but it involved youth and the middle school and the high school developed the whole program, would have cost them zero, nothing, Zippo. And then at the end of, what my proposal was, I said, well, they could do an open house. They could invite the local television station, the local newspaper, really make it an event, open it up to the community. You couldn't, quote unquote, buy that amount of goodwill that would cost zero. Nope. They
It's because it's too much work. It's like things in the school system. It's like they don't do things because everyone is so overwhelmed, and it's not really the workers' fault it really starts at the top, right? I mean, the staff usually in a senior center is so overwhelmed, so I'm not putting it on them.
Right.
I think there's a systemic issue, as you know, Phyllis,
right.
in terms of as an advocate for.
So now Brenda says, have you built partnerships between local schools and senior living communities or centers to organize regular visits and activities such as reading buddies, holiday events, or pen pal programs? Very interesting, Brenda. I know actually where I live, there is somebody who did develop a reading program with senior, I don't know if it was with youth, but it was people going into senior communities, centers,
And the video that you just, so the answer to that is yes, that's actually what we did. In the video that you just saw, that was a 4-way partnership where there was a school that came for the youth, came as part of a community service project. That was at a place called Dyckman Senior Center, which is in northern Manhattan. Amazing executive director, Carol Weeks. So she invited us in there. So we had the youth from the local high school. We had the senior center from Dyckman Senior Center. We had GDS, and we had another organization that GDS was partnering with called Hope, helping our people evolve. So the more that you could collaborate, that brings the holistic approach in. So that is a great idea, and we need more programs like that.
Right.
How do we do that? We do that by starting, I think what you're doing, Phyllis, is educating people about the need, and especially in under-resourced community, but even in communities where there are resources, in wealthy communities, the senior centers are not doing these, not willing to pay for it, like you said, which is, I don't know, how do you suggest we fix that, Phyllis?
That's beyond me. I have to say, I mean, who only knows what direction a lot of these places are going to go with all the rise in insurance costs and cuts in Medicaid. I shudder the thought. And actually, I just had a hip replacement, and I was saying, when I was long time ago, when people asked me, why don't you go see a doctor? I said, well, I'm not going into a skilled nursing facility. I've worked in too many of them. But anyway, so when I went to the doctor, he said, no, you'll be able to go home. You'll actually walk out the door. And I was an incredible thing to me. But indeed, I did walk out the door. And I've been home ever since. And since that time, I received, I get newsletters, from the space. And this one said that the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is cutting a lot of the reimbursements for Medicare for these type of procedures for people who wind up going to skilled nursing, because so many of them, with the advancements in technology, people could go home. And so they don't require a 3-day hospital stay, which is what's required for Medicare reimbursement in a skilled nursing facility, short-term rehab. So they're cutting that. So now, I shudder at the thought of what these places are going to do with all those cuts. How are they going to continue surviving or caring for, in quotes, for the people that are there? So certainly that's going to be a priority, and not finding money for these kinds of programs. But if they really looked into it, because they're only looking at dollars and cents, right? And the expenditure. But if they really looked into the benefit of what the program provides, they find that it's really a tremendous cost savings at the other end of it. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they also would be the word would spread that the place is good and they're doing kind of innovative programs, and that would actually bring more revenue to them. But I'm not sure if they're thinking that way.
No, well, they're not thinking that way.
Yeah, I'm trying to give it
not,
benefit
not
of the
sure
doubt.
that
But
they're not.
it is a systemic issue, like a lot of other things, just like mental health access, or just like certain things that should be happening that are just not. So I think it really goes down to how do we change the systems to take care of our elders, to take care of our seniors, and give them the respect that they deserve. Like you talk about, Phyllis, is like people deserve when we go into the programs, people are telling their story, their legacy. Like we need to treat elders the way, as you say, Japanese cultures are, or Native Americans.
Right.
Like we all should want to do that because we're going to be old too. Who's going to take care of us? Like I want to create this program so 20 years from now, when I'm 80 or 90, however old I am, that in the community there should be a place. In so many communities, the youth have nothing, aren't doing much, even and like why can't we create more programs like this?
Yeah, no, I'm with you 500%. And like I said, the benefits for even a person with dementia, let's say, or Alzheimer's, their response to the environment, the reduced, what's the word because I don't like the word acting out. There aren't really any dementia behaviors. They're responses to the environment. But so they would be much more engaged. They would be soothed. They would be, have a sense of calm. And therefore that would reduce, responses that are not, that are responses that are, not appreciated or that are disruptive in the environment. So that's where I'm talking about the benefit that it could provide, but they're not looking at that. They don't see it.
That's one of the things that Michael Rosado Bennett has in his Alive Inside Foundation, which he has all sorts of different tools where you could ask him the right questions, because it's really, he taught me that it's really all about the individualized playlist.
Right.
And that when the senior is telling that story of why that song is important to them, whether it's because it made them sad or joyful, of course we go back to the joyful one, but we want them also to be able to express themselves. And those songs tell their story, which is what the whole movie's about. And that is what Youth Engaging Seniors does, is to have the youth sit with the seniors and talk to them. Oh, what song was this? And Michael has a whole list of questions that are prompts, and it's a way to honor their legacy, make that sense of connection, and help them feel good about themselves by telling their story.
Right. Right. I've often said,
engaging, like you said.
Yeah, I've often said, and you hit on an important point, which is personalized playlists, which is why Dan Cohn has now his company is called Right to Music, because he says, it's the person's right to have the music that they love, that they care about, that's meaningful for them. And I've often said, as a matter of fact, I'm going to be at my daughter's house, over the weekend because, it'll be easier for me to get around at her house, and it's one level, and, I'll have an extra pair of hands to do things for me. Right. But I'm going to ask her this question. What songs does she think would be songs that would be my favorite songs? I wonder if she can name 10.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, thank God in your case, we can get that answer from you. But a lot of times when we're dealing with the person with dementia, they can't answer that question. So we talk to a family member. But I just think it's also important to give credit to, from what I understand, is Michael Rosado Bennett and Dan Cohn together did the movie Alive Inside. Right. And then Michael eventually created the Alive Inside Foundation, and Dan Cohn was Music and Memories, and now Dan Cohn is Right to Music. Because give all of those organizations the credit that we there's plenty of love to share, but we also just want to share throwing around a lot of names, so the credit for all these amazing programs.
Now, I agree with you. And, when I first met Dan Cohen, I had seen Alive Inside. And then, of course, I wanted to meet, and this is many, many, many years ago. And I had said to him that, so I worked, my specialty as a speech and language pathologist was really working on units where people were dependent on ventilators or had trachs, whatever. And many of them, depends on the reason they were on the ventilator. Not all of them were respiratory cases. There could be somebody who had a stroke or or an aneurysm or cancer, a car accident, whatever. So some people weren't so responsive, right? And I would always tell, this is way before, this is like in the 90s. And I would always say to a family member, so this is in the days of like a radio or a cassette, why don't you bring some music that they loved? And it was just intuitive to me. Or even if it isn't music, if they weren't a music person, if they were a sports person, and let's say they love baseball, and maybe get some recordings of some World Series or football, the Super Bowl, whatever it is, something that
whatever they could relate to, that triggers that memory. Like,
correct.
The best way, like one of the reasons why it's so important for young friends, but friends that were friends with them for a long time. So I know you don't like the word old,
right?
So if you have a friend that's been with you, knows you since you were a kid, and now my mom is 84, for that person to come and visit my mom is really important because she has those memories that are still there. And it's just sad that a lot of friends don't come and visit the people that are living with dementia because they're scared or they're going through their own. There's so many different issues, but I encourage everyone to, you have to have the courage to, you don't have to, but I'm asking you, try to have the courage. Think of what you'd want someone to come and visit you, because those are the best people, including like your siblings and family members. Because when, like my mom, like when I'm trying to get her to know that it's me, I tell a story of like, she used to blow dry my hair. I know you can't tell now, Phyllis, but
really?
She just did that big, I used to have a big bouffant. I'll show you a picture, but it was like, and my mother would blow dry my hair. So when I was out on Saturday, my dad was trying to connect with her before I left. And I said, "Ma, remember you used to blow dry my hair?" And then she just had to smile. It just shows you, like, if you really know how to talk to people, which is not easy, it's like, I have another friend that's dealing with their husband right now. And it's just, you get so anxious and you're so worried that you don't interact in a proper way. And it just makes things spiral out of control. And it's because there aren't enough supports in the household.
Right.
And people don't know. It's not like a malicious thing. I have another friend who's both their parents have dementia, and they're just refusing to. In that beginning stage, it's so hard. You need to surround yourself with competent, kind people like you, but there aren't a lot of. That's how I met you.
Right.
Because I was looking for help, and you were so helpful to me. And it's so hard to find. And I'm pretty well know. I'm pretty well know the resources around.
Right.
Them. They're not there, and it makes it hard. We can't. I think people are really scared of looking at someone they might have. You're facing your own death. People don't want to talk about mental health because they're scared of their own mental health. People don't want to talk to seniors living with dementia because it makes them face their own. It's hard, but we have to have the courage to do that. Again, it's just very important, especially friends and family members. People are lonely, and they're still alive. They still have joy in them. They're still there. You just have to know. You have to, and it's okay to get trained. There are support groups. There's places you can go to a support group and talk to other people and ask. I just feel like it's so important.
It reminds me when I was 15. I think I was 15 at the time. So, I mean, I've told the story many times about, my mom who used to travel from Brooklyn to the Bronx by train several times a week. She didn't drive, and to help care for my grandmother who had Parkinson's, had broken her hip, but then it became, became very difficult. So she wanted to move my grandmother into our house, but my father didn't think it was a good idea. It was a small house. She would have needed a hospital bed, but there was a small nursing home a few blocks away. And he said, okay, let's move mom, he called her mom, in there. And then you could go every day from morning till night. And so she did that. And then there was a period of time when my parents went on vacation, and my sister and I took turns fulfilling the role that my mother took. But it's just what you say about being scared, right? So there was one time, I think it was like Mother's Day or around Mother's Day, my mother's brother and his wife and my two cousins came to the house, right? Where, my sister and I were. And I suggested that they go to the nursing home and visit, their grandmother, right? And their mother said, no, she didn't want them to do that because she didn't want them to see that. It's unpleasant. She didn't want them to be any part of it. And my response, I could see myself standing there saying, I'm glad because I will know how to care for my mother. I didn't get the opportunity, but that's a different matter. But, this is part of life, and I will know what that's about. And then hopefully when I get older, that, I will pass that on. And so it's very interesting that I believe that that's the thread that brought me to, this business, this industry, this space, whatever you want to call it. But even back then, here was my aunt saying, "Oh no, we don't want them to see that. It's too unpleasant. It's, we don't."
Right, and that's the culture. That's the toxic environment. That's the holistic. Like that when one of the people on the call was asking, like the schools, like all the more different organizations that decrease the stigma of getting old or having dementia or talking to a senior or being with a senior. We need everyone, to put their hands in, like you said, and to be part of it.
Yeah,
it's a community.
I agree.
Safe space.
Well, Gary, this has been terrific. Dr. Gary, I know that's your brand, so I should call you Dr. Gary, even though to me you're just Gary.
Well, good. We're friends. You can call me Gary. Just call me.
We've known each other for years now, and so I'm so thrilled. I kind of reached out to you. We hadn't been in touch for a long time, so I really appreciate it. And, sharing the wonderful work you're doing with Youth Engaging Seniors and helping youth understand the powerful role music plays in touching people's lives, their hearts and their minds, and connecting generations. It's absolutely priceless. So thanks so much.
Well, thanks for having me, and I admire your work, and I appreciate you being the voice for so many. So you do amazing work yourself, Phyllis, and I'm just trying to evolve as an elder. So
I'll just add this at the end. Mel says, neuroscience has revealed how damage to nerve cells prevents them from sending messages effectively, which prevents the brain from functioning normally. Meaningful music has been somewhat successful in creating new pathways. Absolutely.
Yep, definitely.
Thanks, Mel. That will be our parting words.
There you go.
So now for next week's show, I'm happy to say that another friend of mine, Michaeline Risley, will be able to join me on Senior Nation. Michaeline is a dynamic entrepreneur and advocate. She's the founder and CEO of Imbibe, a US-based sleep company focused on one thing. You know that one thing? Helping people actually feel better when they wake up. Imbibe makes pillows that use a proprietary blend of copper, silver, and cooling technology to support alignment, ease pain, and make sleep more restorative and comfortable. So I always ask people, when does your day begin? And, they give me a variety of answers. And I always say our day actually begins with a good night's sleep. And Michaeline has found a way to help make that happen for each and every one of us. So I'm so thrilled she'll be here with me next week. So remember to tune in and come prepared with questions and comments on December 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Source TV Radio Network. And until then, take care, stay well, and stay tuned.
I'm just saying I'm not finished yet. Search for it, swing for it, discover the me that lives in yes. Stand for it, stretch for it. It's my time, imagine my best. Run for it, reach for it, uncover the me that lives in yes. I know, yes I know, there'll be miracles wherever I go. It's not work, it's play. I can make